Welcome to JADEL TV. This is a short M mode and video clip that received greater than 50 likes on my Twitter feed, and therefore I'm moving it over to the JADEL TV YouTube channel for further discussion. I posed the question on this one about can you guess the left ventricular function simply from the M mode? And there's a number of features on here that can help you predict that the left ventricular systolic function is markedly reduced, as well as the left ventricular stroke volume. In this M mode image, you can see how there's very minimal anterior-posterior motion of the aorta. That has been well described as a feature of low stroke volume. If you look at the M mode feature itself, I'll see if I can't stop it here. And on this picture, what you're able to see is the midline closure point. Then at the beginning of systole, immediate opening and very rapid opening of the aortic valve. If you notice, it's not perfectly straight up and down, and that's common in people with bradycardia, but more common in people with a low stroke volume, where it has a little bit of an angle to fully open. You can measure this point, this distance from the fully initial opening of the aortic valve to the end of the aortic valve. And if you were to measure this distance, it would be shorter than this distance. Maybe it's easier to be seen on this leaflet right here, where the slope of that doesn't maintain its full opening, but it's actually dragging closed, and here as well. So that this distance here is smaller than this distance. And that only happens when you have an incredibly low stroke volume. A number of people posed a number of possibilities that should also be considered. I think I heard bicuspid valve, but typically with a bicuspid valve, you will have eccentric closure, although you don't have to. This is pretty midline. Eccentric closure might have a line that's up at this end or at this end, depending on the type of bicuspid valve. Other people suggested this might be an outflow tract obstruction, such as a hypertrophic cardiomyopathy with systolic anterior motion. But in patients where you have a high left ventricular outflow tract gradient, you will sometimes see early closure, but in that case it'll dip down and then go back up, and what you end up with is partial early closure, but not necessarily a slope or reduced pattern here. Also, those patients will normally have a stroke volume that's preserved, so the aorta will actually come up and have significant anterior-posterior motion, unlike this case. So this is really just a relatively simple sign that you can look for, where the aortic valve doesn't fully open when you have markedly reduced stroke volume, as in this patient here who had a dilated cardiomyopathy with an ejection fraction certainly less than 20%. Again, I hope you enjoyed that discussion and enjoyed this JADEL TV video. Have a good day.